Hello, my friends. It's a happy day here in Berkeley Springs. Thanks for coming and being with us here on PostScript. I want to talk to you today about energy. When you look out into this future and the extraordinary change that's coming downstream, what you have to do is see it and think of it in terms of energy, because that is the most fundamental enabling kind of capability underneath that underpins and enables everything. Uh, it's energy in a variety of kind of ways, but let's talk about it in terms of just when we think of electricity and usable energy and kind of in a tangible space. It's much more than that. It has to do with who we are and how we think and other such things. But let's just talk about the underlying kind of way in which we transport ourselves, and the lower end of the Maslow hierarchy. And take care of yourself and keep things going. You can describe history in any of a variety. I've got a chart on the talk that I've given in the past, and it's got 16 different ways in which you can track paradigm shifts over the past from the beginning. I mean, you can do it in terms of chemistry, breakthroughs in chemistry. You can do it in terms of geopolitics. You can do it in lots of other kinds of things. But one of the ways that you can do it is certainly in terms of energy, and energy is where early on it was just fire, and then it turned into other kind of forms and capabilities of maybe steam, using fire to then translate it into steam. Ultimately, of course, you got to petroleum, and the era of oil. The capabilities of petroleum allowed for an explosion of development, of human development, that just had never existed earlier. And you could make the case, certainly, that nuclear power has opened up doors to do all kinds of things, both constructive and destructive, that you never could do before. And you're working your way down this track. And for those of you who play around in this space, you know about all these ideas about unlimited energy, or quote free energy, from 0 point energy, the ability to access energy out of the field that supports us all and from which our reality emerges, which would eliminate the need for any kind of extractive thing like oil or coal and so on, and drive you into a whole new space. Right now, our whole energy system generally is centralized. That is to say that if you want fuel for your car, what you have to do is go to a distribution point that is a derivative, i.e. a gas station in the United States, or a petrol station. And that is a distribution point from a centralized kind of industry that extracts the oil and refines the oil and so on, and you're completely dependent upon that, because you're at the end of this system that is kind of a centralized system. It's the same thing with electricity in general. Of course, there's some people who are off the grid and are independent, but for almost everybody else, we're on the end of a series of wires that take us down to a distribution system, and then work our way to some power plant. Transmission lines that go miles away to a power plant, and the power plant needs coal or whatever it turns out to be to generate that electricity, to generate turbines and make steam and run generators and so on. And so if that system fails, or if you decide you want to do something differently, it's very hard, because you're dependent upon that centralized system. There are, that's important to understand because what seems to be inbound here is a decentralized system. It's a capability. Think of it this way: if everybody in their garage had a box that was about this big, and it provided all the electricity that you needed, and it powered your, you charged up your car, let's say, at night, and so that you could run for 300 miles. Or there's new technology that's coming on, battery technology, that will allow you, once you charge your vehicle, that would run 1,000 miles. Okay, but what if that was all you had it, and it was decentralized? That is to say, you could control it. You could turn it on and off, and it didn't make any difference what a power company or anybody else had to say, because you had the control over that. Now, that seems clearly conceptually to be on the horizon. That we're working our way toward the possibility. There are other forces that are trying to consolidate and keep the centralized system going and so on, but there is the possibility of new breakthroughs. You can see them on the horizon. I'm aware of 3 or 4 of them right now that are very close to being able to be commercialized, that could enable anybody to produce their own power and be independent from the grid. And that's just in, if you will, very innovative kind of applications of conventional kind of understanding about electrical engineering, kinds of magnets and rotating devices and so on. That in and of itself would be a huge, it would work its way back into government and other kinds of things, because you wouldn't have to be dependent in the ways that you are now to outside either companies and or governments, all who can use the ability to constrain or manipulate or control your access to energy to determine whether you have the latitude to go places or get jobs out, certain kinds of jobs and other kinds of things, because there just wasn't the ability to have access to the energy. And it's one thing to do it in terms of cars or something, but if you follow, some of the science fiction kind of ideas, there are a place out there where you might be able to have on your own little very small device, maybe the size of your handful or something like that, that you could put on your belt or whatever, and it would provide all of the energy that you would ever need for as long as you ever needed it for anything that you were carrying or needing. You wouldn't have to charge your phone if you even had phones, and whatever it turns out to be. But there's and again, if you think about that, what it does is it starts to liberate you and allow you to go do things that you just never could have done before, because you're constrained, you're tethered to this other kind of system. And so, as I say, there's a number of very advanced kind of, if you will, conventional science-based technologies that are coming. They're not generally known and not aware. People are not aware of them, but some of them are very close. The thing that's really intriguing to me, though, is the possibility that there are, in the kind of discoveries that are going on in different places in the world, the possibility that we could find ourselves into capabilities that were really unconventional and would just make obsolete almost every kind of energy generation capability that there is right now. And there are rumors, for instance, that down in Antarctica, that there are that they have discovered some buried under the ice, maybe some alien village or city or something that they found down there. I don't know what. But there's some specific indications that say that there's an energy device that they have developed, that they found, that will just wholesalely just change everything in the way that we generate things like electricity. And so there is that possibility. And the point is that no matter how you look at this, whether in conventional or unconventional terms, there is a very deep, kind of fundamental kind of shift. Now, this is doubly or triply important because you're going into a period where it's going to get cold. And it's going to get cold for a long time, 50, 60 years maybe, or something like that. And what do you need in that kind of environment? You need energy. You need the capability to kind of heat yourself and keep you going and get you where you need to go. And the extractive kind of things like coal and oil and stuff are not going to be equal to the, almost certainly to the kind of issues and problems that come with a large, broad base, general kind of decrease in kind of temperature. So keep an eye out for that because those kinds of things. One of the really hinge points in this whole business has been batteries, and now there's just announcements because you can never do any better than what the best battery was, and the best battery can only keep so much. It's called energy density or power density, depending upon how you look at it. You can only put so much energy into a certain kind of volume, and so that would limit you because of the composition of the internal kind of electronics and the physics. That would limit you in what you could do. Well, there are now batteries reportedly that, like I mentioned, that you could charge a vehicle up in a very short period of time, a few minutes maybe potentially. It could run for 1,000 miles or more. That the battery would never degenerate. Yeah, so you could charge it, 500,000 times, and it'd work as well at the end as it does now, as at the beginning. And so there's some really very, very interesting energy things that are coming downstream, and so that will, of course, give you the base, presumably, based depending upon how the politics and economics work, whether it's controlled or whether it's distributed, whether it's made available to people so that they can, a lot of people can develop it and they can make independent kind of devices that anybody can use, or whether they try to keep it centralized like they've done in the past. But clearly, as we move forward, there's this kind of divergent two different tracks, one of which is going to try to control it, and another one that's trying to open up and to provide independence and autonomy, sovereignty. But in any case, there's these new technologies are going to be the basis or one of the serious major components of this track. So it'll be interesting. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate it. Tell your friends. Send this along to whoever you'd like. And click the button and say you like this. And if you're with us for the first time, click the link down below and send us your email. And we won't give it to anybody, but we'll let you know when the next episode's going to come out so that you're aware of these, because we have no other way to contact you and tell you about this if you don't do that for us. But we will not take advantage of you. I can assure you that. Thanks so much. See ya.